Hey, I got another KJV King James Bible versus all the other things that are trying to say they're Bibles. Um, they changed one word twice in this verse, and I'm going to show you why it's such a big deal. And yeah, so I'm not going to ask you to read this big portion here or this portion down here, but I am going to read from the King James Version, Revelation chapter 13, verse 16. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. The King James Version is the only one that uses the word in, referring to the hand or the forehead. And all these other versions say on their forehead, mark on their right hands, on. And so why that is such a problem is it creates a false assumption that there's a requirement. And first off, if anybody does not understand the context of this, the mark of the beast is something that basically is going to cause people to lose their soul. So if the Bible isn't getting this part right, it's not warning you, right? It's not warning you in the way it needs to, but the King James Version does. These other versions are made by liars, and they do not prepare you. So why is changing the word in to the word on matter? It literally is a one-letter change. And what's the difference? Why does this change matter? Two things that are different are not the same thing. They are not the same thing. The King James Version says it is the Word of God and it cannot be tampered with. And if somebody does tamper with it, they're basically trading their soul to change the words. Why is this important? Because it has to do with something that can lose you your soul, and on top of that, is as if losing your soul wasn't enough. The repercussion of taking the mark is to be tormented in eternity, or tormented for eternity in hell, and then hell is going to be thrown in the lake of fire, which is the second death. It has and continues to push a false doctrine by changing one word, changing in to on. Why is that a problem? Because it is a false doctrine forcing a circumstance or false thought. This is, I can't remember the exact word, a presumption, a false presumption. Why is that a problem? Because it's false doctrine forcing a circumstance or false thought. So here's the false thought. It cannot be the mark of the beast because the mark needs to be on the forehead or hand. If the true word is in the hand or forehead, it becomes a physical issue that reveals a spiritual problem, but does not require a visible sign. It does not need to be visible. Over here, on these fake versions of the Bible, they require a visible sign for somebody to have taken the mark of the beast. But the King James Version does not require a physical sign because it says mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. It is a possibility that is visible, but it is not required. By putting the word on instead of the word in, they require the mark of the beast to be visible on the forehead and the hand. And the Bible talks about so much spiritual matters that are not visible that it would be insane to think that you have to require the mark of the beast to be visible for it to be that. It's a false assumption. So what these verses all do out of these fake versions of the Bible, they create a false assumption which say, oh, this isn't the mark of the beast because it's not on the hand or the forehead. And what that false assumption does is cause people to have faith in something that's not true or accurate, and it causes them to possibly take it. Because they're like, oh, I just can't take anything on my skin, but I can take stuff in. You see? It creates a false assumption, which will give you a false way of thinking. And with an issue on the mark of the beast, it better be accurate. You better have your ideas correct about that. Because if you don't, damned for eternity. Right? Like, just say it that easily. If you take the mark, you're damned for eternity. So I would want to get that correct. But I think these other versions, they don't care that much because they're made by liars.